Hello, and welcome to the next video in the tutorial series called What If I Can't Make My Shift? This video goes over a couple methods on what to do if you can no longer make your commitment. The first method is the preferred way called Swap Shift. This is a feature that's available on our signup.com account that we strongly encourage you to use as a first go-to method. What the Swap Shift entails is when you have a shift you can no longer make, you can go on to signup.com. You can select a few other shifts that you may be able to take in its place. And the people that have signed up for those shifts you've selected, if they agree to swap a shift with you, then the match is made and it all kind of happens in the background through automatic emails coming from signup.com. So it's really no extra burden on the volunteer itself and the volunteer coordinator, and no email communications are being exchanged back and forth. This is something we strongly encourage to use going forward, as cancellations can be burdensome, especially when they're last minute. This creates a big burden on the volunteer coordinator and other volunteers to get the shift filled. The last thing we want to do is to have any food go to waste or any shift go unclaimed. The next best practice is to cancel your shift on signup.com, but to sign up for another. This way, we ensure that we're still filling in the gaps in the schedule where we need, but maybe you can't make that specific shift, and that's okay. We recognize you all have your own commitments, but we hope that you'll sign up for another one to fill in those other gaps. There's a couple ways that I'll go through this, but you can do it directly on signup.com or from a notification reminder that has come from signup.com and is now sitting in your email inbox. The final thing I'll note here is a cancellation policy. That's something that we're trying to push at Rachel's Table. The best practice you can do here is to cancel as soon as you know. The next best thing is if the shift is in with 72 hours, we highly encourage you to contact your volunteer coordinator immediately. This ensures that we can find a substitute and make that last minute coordination to make sure that no food goes to waste. If you're canceling for a shift that is outside of that 72-hour threshold, you can cancel directly online on signup.com. You do not need to email your volunteer coordinator if there's plenty of time for them to find a substitute. But again, we want ample time to find all the replacements that are needed. And the best way to do this is through that first method at the top called Swap Shift. Now I'm on the Rachel's Table site, and this may look familiar from the earlier training videos. I'm going to hit Continue as my name. So let's say, for example, I can't make my next scheduled shift. As you might remember from earlier videos, one way to find all of the shifts you're signed up for on signup.com is to go to this feature right here, Show My Spots. And just as some context, I am on the Rachel's Table General Routes. So this is the non-food bank route side. Again, I will click on this filter, Show My Spots. For me, I only have one shift scheduled. It's a driving position on Tuesday, March 1st. You may have a longer list. But let's say for demonstration purposes, I can no longer make this shift. I can see that I'm clearly signed up here. My name is on the signed up list, but I can't make it. The best practice that we strongly encourage you to implement and incorporate into your regular routines is to find the shift that you can no longer make. You'll press My Spots and you'll hit this middle option, Swap Request. And just to brief you, the Swap Request feature is a really nice feature of signup.com. What it does is it allows volunteers to find their own substitutes through the system without having to email back and forth manually with your volunteer coordinator. And subsequently, the volunteer coordinator then reaching out to the entire volunteer base looking for a replacement. So by nature of swapping your request with another volunteer, the system automatically communicates to the volunteers involved to make sure that no shift goes to waste. So I'll go into this process and explain a little bit more how it works. So I can no longer make March 1st. I will hit Swap Request, and then it will load for a second. Once it loads, it will give you a list of all the volunteers who have already claimed shifts. Again, I am on the Rachel's Table General Routes. So swapping a shift means that I will select volunteers to literally swap our shifts. So I will take theirs and they will take mine. So it allows the system to find a substitute for you. I will scroll down to my shift, March 1st. This is the shift that I could no longer make. So let's say that I'm available the rest of the week, but not on the Tuesday. I will select the shifts that I might be able to swap instead for that Tuesday shift. So I'm around Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday for a driving position. So what the system will do is it now will communicate that I am looking to swap a shift with one of these places. The more selections that you make, the more availability that you give, the greater the likelihood that someone can claim your shift and you'll be able to swap places. Once you're done selecting the available options to swap with, you scroll to the bottom and then you'll hit next. Now you have to scroll up. It looks a bit deceiving, but don't forget to scroll up. Now on this page, this is where you have the option to include an optional message with your request. So on the previous page, I selected a driver on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. What I am saying is that I have the availability to drive those days if one of those volunteers can take my Tuesday shift. So just to give some context, I might say something like this. Hey, so-and-so, I can no longer make this shift. If you are willing to drive Tuesday, I can drive on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday of that week, and we can swap places. Thank you. What this will do is signup.com will now send this message with my request to all of the volunteers that I selected on the previous page. It will generate an email, and the first person to see that email, recognize that they can do the swap, and then ultimately claim the Tuesday shift. Then the system will then notify all involved parties that either A, I have now swapped a shift successfully and I might be driving the Wednesday shift, and so might be driving my Tuesday shift. It will also notify all other volunteers that the shift has now been claimed and you no longer need to fill in. And it will ultimately notify the admin on the account, the volunteer coordinator, so that that person is looped in and make sure that all of these shifts have been claimed successfully. When I am done, I can send the request and the system will generate those emails for me. The other option is to cancel your shift outright. We prefer that you try to use the swap feature first and help us find a substitute if you do have to cancel a shift. But as a backup, for your knowledge, this is another way to cancel a shift. This is one way to get to the Rachel Sable site to cancel a shift that you might have already been notified about. When you do successfully sign up for shifts, these emails will be generated so that you are notified of the upcoming schedule. So this is the shift that I can no longer make, and I had received an email from signup.com about this March 1st shift. If you scroll down, there's a hyperlink right here to view or change my commitments. Select this. This will allow me to go right to the Rachel's Table site where I signed up for the shift that I now want to cancel. Again, I will continue as my name, and then I can always easily filter right here for show my spots. Now this is the shift I want to cancel, and I can click on my spots. Again, we prefer that you use the swap request, but for some circumstance when you don't use that, you can just simply hit remove. Then it will ask me, are you sure you want to remove this participant? If I am sure, I will hit yes. Again, we encourage you to use the 72-hour cancellation notification policy. This will help admin find a replacement if you need to cancel within 72 hours of your commitment. Again, it is best practice to use the swap request feature on signup.com to help find a substitute on your own to replace the shift that you can no longer commit to. It is best to do this as soon as you find out you can no longer make that shift. In my next video, I will discuss how to join the waitlist and what the waitlist is.